Hi guys, it's Karen from Love Your Land again. Yes, I'm doing 2 videos in a row because I shot 3 yesterday and they were all mute, and that was kind of annoying. But anyway, I wanted to address something I've talked about in the past, but you know, it's always going to keep coming up because new people join the page and whatnot. And that is people ask me, message me, post, whatever, this question that I just can't answer. And that question is, when should I start my seeds? If you've ever asked me this question and I've given you a vague answer, it's because of what we're going to talk about. First of all, it depends on what seed you're talking about. It depends on where you live. It depends on what time of, where you are in the year, all kinds of stuff. So unless we had, we're like on the phone and we had like an hour to talk about it and you had your list of everything you wanted to grow, then we could definitely figure it out. But chances are I don't have time to do that with everybody. So I'm going to try and I went over this last year, but I'm going to try and explain it a little bit better this year. Because even now when I watched last year's video, I'm like, why didn't I talk about this or that? And so still the answer is similar. It's the same answer, and that is that there's, generally speaking, about 3 different categories when it comes to seeds in terms of when should I start them, inside, outside, whatever. The first category is they should be started inside. Excuse me. And those are examples would be tomatoes and peppers, obviously. And if you just go by what the seed packet says, which you guys probably know, I don't listen to seed packets much, then you're going to want to start those about 8 weeks before your last frost. So that's about 2 months. Personally, I start my tomatoes and peppers at least 4 months before my last frost. I do that for reasons I've explained in the past in many other videos. And I also do it because I don't want to wait anymore. I need to start growing my stuff. I've waited, it's been since September, end of September, since I've been growing something. Maybe into October, but that's enough of a break for me. So I like to get the ball rolling, and so I start them really early. So your things that are not cold hardy, that are slow growers like tomatoes and peppers, you need to start them inside, and you want to start them somewhere between 2 to 4 months, if you're a nut like me, in your house before your last frost date. And again, your frost date is totally different than mine, chances are, unless you're here in Loveland. The second category is, I made these to show you, but then I realized if I hold this up, you guys aren't going to be able to read that. But category 2 can be started inside, or it can be direct sown outside. And there's benefits and drawbacks to each. So these are examples of these types of plants would be melons, squashes, cucumbers, pumpkins, well that's a melon, beans, so anything that's vining. You can start them inside and have little transplants to put out when it's time after your last frost. Or you can just wait and just direct sow the seeds outside a couple of weeks before your last frost. Either way. The advantage to just direct sowing them is it's way easier. You just poke them in the ground and give them a little water and move on with your life. If you start them inside, it's not like it's a big hassle, but you do have to have pots and room and space and lighting and all that. But if you have all that, it's kind of cool to start them inside because, one, your seeds are not going to get stolen from you by birds or squirrels or whatever. And that definitely happens. Birds spot a seed and they hone in on it. But also, your seeds it's not like this is a big, huge problem, but it's possible your seeds can rot if you put them in the ground too soon. So if they're just sitting there, if there's 8 weeks left before your last frost and you plant your seeds, or even 6 weeks, and they're just sitting there in snow-packed soil, rotting, in all that moist, wet soil, they're probably going to rot. Or they can, let's say that. So if you start them inside, that's not going to be an issue either. They're just going to come up and it'll be great. As far as timing on those vining plants, they grow so fast. So do not start your cucumbers and melons and squashes and beans and things, well, I have a bush bean growing here right now, but your any vining plants, don't start them in the house until no sooner than 4 weeks before your last frost. So 2 to 4 weeks before your last frost, and you're going to be good, because they don't have to get very big to be put out. You know, tomatoes and peppers, you want them a little bit sturdier, a little more hardy. All those little vining plants, you know, your zucchini plants and whatnot, just picture what you see at the at your local greenhouse garden center. You know, they sell them, they're only this big, and that's plenty big for them to go outside when it's time. So still 2 to 4 is the magic number here for these kinds of plants, but we're talking weeks, not months. So 2 to 4 weeks for your vining plants. Cucumbers, I keep saying cucumbers because my friend last year in like January, she sent me a picture, she texted me a picture of her greenhouse, and she had tomatoes cucumbers in there, and I was like, uh-oh, I forgot to tell her not to do that. And then the third category are things that you should not start inside. You should direct sow them only. And those are things like radishes, carrots, turnips, your root vegetables. Even lettuce. I mean, you can start lettuce. You can do either or on lettuce, but personally, I just find it easier. They're kind of delicate, so I just like to direct sow my greens. But root vegetables, yes, I know somebody out there is saying, but you can transplant them. You can. I've heard of people. I've heard, you know, legends that people have transplanted their radish seedlings, but I don't know why you would do that for one thing, because they grow so fast. It's like 3 weeks and you have your radish. So I see absolutely no reason to take the chance of injuring that root system, which is going to be the vegetable eventually. So that's why I would just say direct sow those outside. And on those, 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost is going to be a general guideline for you. Certain things are going to be a little different than others, but that's a good rule of thumb. And then also keep in mind that if you start your plants inside, if you're new to gardening, this is a very, very, very important piece of information. If you start your seeds inside and you grow your plants to whatever size, you know, before, you can't just take them from inside your house. And come Mother's Day, you're like, woohoo, let's all plant all these, you know, get the whole family involved to plant all your plants outside. If you take them from in your house where they've grown in these very mild, artificial conditions, and just put them right outside in that hot sun with cool air and full sun, they're going to die within, I would say, an hour. So you don't just put them straight from the house outside. There's a process called hardening off, and you need to go through that process. The plants need to go through that process before they're just fully submerged, I guess I would say, to the outdoor elements. And I do have a video on hardening off if you're interested now. I'm going to do another one this year. It's probably not time to harden off your plants no matter where you are. But the process is, it's like you take all your plants out for an hour a day. You know, you keep them in the shade, so they're getting like the different temperature and some wind, and they hear birds. It's like taking your dog out for a walk when you don't normally walk them. They're just like dripping out. So that's kind of the process. You ease them into it. The first couple of days, just an hour, 2, and you take them all back in. And then, you know, by the second week, maybe they're out there until nighttime, and then you take them in at night. And then by the third week, they're kind of hanging out all night long. Most of the time you're able to leave them out all the time, but it's a gradual process and it's important. So anyway, back to my original topic. 3 categories. Things you should start inside always. Tomatoes and peppers are a good example. They're not cold hardy and they are slow growers. I can't talk today. Second category, are things that you can start inside or you can direct sow them. They do fine either way. And those would be vining plants. Don't start those until 2 to 4 weeks before your last frost. You can Google it. Just, what is my last frost date in wherever I live? And Google will tell you. And the last category are things that you should only direct sow outside. And those, think root vegetables, carrots and radishes and things like that. That's it. If you have any questions, post a comment below or go over to Facebook and ask me there, and I will answer you. And I think that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.